Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Town Council, September 19, 2016. Let's start with the Pledge Allegiance. Jody?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I did want to have a brief moment of silence. We lost longtime Police Sergeant Jack Goldberg this weekend, so if we could have a moment of silence. All right, moving on to the agenda. Public comments. Is there anyone from the public who, I'm sorry, attendance?
Counselor Bello,
Here.
Counselor Hemmon,
Here.
Counselor Hurley,
Here.
Counselor Latina,
Here.
Counselor Martino,
Here.
Counselor Rell,
Here.
Counselor Spinella,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Barry,
Here.
and Paul Montanari is unable to attend. He's working tonight.
So now we'll get to public comment. Who would like to speak? Yes.
I'm not very good at this, so I'm sorry, but, okay, I was here about 3 weeks ago because I was talking about not thinking it was fair to be charged for the sidewalks on Morrison Avenue. And a week or so after that, I received a letter from the town manager, but I really don't agree with some of the explanations, and so I'm going to quote only 3 of them.
Just before you say too much, will you just say who you are?
My name is Ginger Smith, and I live at Morrison Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One of the quotes was, the residents wanted a new solution to the proximity of the road to the sidewalk. This is a direct quote. The residents wanted a sidewalk that was not at the same elevation of the road, and some residents did not want a sidewalk at all. As was mentioned in the letter, the residents' concern were not necessarily the sidewalk being next to the road, but that the sidewalk was at the same elevation as the road. The problem was created when the town milled and resurfaced this road over the years. The milling of the road was done without supervision and allowing the contractor to do a lousy job. As a result of the milling and overlay, the town contractor removed the curbing, and for a long time Morrison Avenue did not have any separation between the street and the sidewalks. And so every time it rained, the walk was covered in water, and the water was going into people's basements, especially on the odd side of the road, which I think you will call the north side. The town records indicate that in 1982, the town council suggested that to reconstruct the sidewalks, and after 30 years it was done. So that's one reason I don't understand why I'm paying for it, or the town thinks I should. The second direct quote is, there were several years and numerous meetings with the neighborhood regarding the issue, and a final solution was selected by the residents. Well, a final solution was not exactly selected by the residents, but was selected by the town. The concerns regarding the sidewalk from Orchard Street west to Wilkett Hill Road. The concern was that the sidewalk was the same elevation of the road east of the sidewalk on the south side of Morrison Avenue was in perfect condition, did not be reconstructed, and for safety reasons, the north side of the road, there was no sidewalk, but one was put in. And now we have, just having moved in at least 6 or 7 kids in that area who are under the age of 6, and when they cross the road, you can't see whether there's any car coming or not. So that sidewalk should have never been there, but that's beside the point. The third quote was, since the road, these are direct quotes from the letter I received, since the road was constructed originally without a snow shelf separation between the sidewalk and the road, there were concerns that were amplified regarding this arrangement after the road was resurfaced. I am sure that when the road was constructed originally with the sidewalk and the curbing adjacent to the road, it was approved by the town. It had to have been. Over the years, the town resurfaced the road on numerous times, allowing the road to be at the same level of the sidewalk, creating the problem. And then with the contractor from Massachusetts, just everything went crazy. All of this was done by the town, and I feel the town needs to be more accountable for their actions. The town action plus the breaking of the sidewalks panels resulted in a need of a new sidewalk, and as such, the residents should not have to pay for town deficiencies. The past few years, sidewalks have been constructed or reconstructed on Somerset, Middletown Avenue, and Two Rod, and the property owners did not have to participate in the cost. So why should I? I mean, it had to do with road construction. It's just, I don't get what you guys do. I'm telling you, I just don't. As I take walks in the town, I notice that not all the streets have sidewalks, and some have partial sidewalks and no sidewalks. Well, what's the deal with that? You either have sidewalks the whole length or you don't. Why don't people get, I mean, you make me, a senior citizen, maintain this sidewalk, and then the town dumps double the amount of snow on it, and I'm too old to try to get 4 feet of snow off of my sidewalk, so I have to hire somebody, and none of this makes any sense. So what are your guidelines? Either you have walks on all the streets and assess the residents accordingly, or don't impose arbitrarily charges on some people and charges on the others. It makes no sense to me. In the end, our sidewalks were replaced because many of them were broken and we had no curbing. And what I also don't understand is, when it was brought to your attention that the sidewalks were broken, why didn't you go after the Massachusetts company who had to have insurance and have them pay for the mess they ended up creating? Well, you didn't do that either. Well, as a retired person living on Social Security and having to pay $9,275 for my stupid house on Morrison Avenue, I think I pay my fair share to this town. And I need a result to this, because I'm wasting your time, I'm wasting my time, and I don't think this is fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Tom Mazzarella, 600 Walcott Hill Road. Excuse me. I want to make a comment about an article that appeared in September 8th edition of the Hartford Courant by Mr. Huffman. I'm going to cut to the chase and read to the quote by Mayor Montanari. Montanari strongly rejected Hurley's position, saying it showed a, quote, an extremely unsophisticated view of government and that he is ill-equipped to serve in the legislature. Now, this article had to do with Hartford's problem and potential working with the town of Wethersfield and other surrounding towns to see if they could resolve their problem. And Mr. Hurley, I think, said it quite well, as did Mr. Young. Why should we bail out Hartford? Wethersfield has plenty of problems of their own. And I think that this council should be spending their time working on those problems, coming up with solutions of how Wethersfield can reduce their taxes and budget their money. And to drag in this political nonsense about whether or not a counselor is qualified to run for a position in the legislature, I don't think it has any business coming from this council, and I'm disappointed Mr. Montanari's not here tonight because this is pointed directly at him. I looked up the definition of politics. The activities associated with the governance of a country or other area, especially the conflict among individuals or parties having or hoping to achieve power. I don't want to see politics in this town. I think this council should be here to better the town, solve problems, reduce our taxes so that people can live here affordably, take care of sidewalks, other problems that people come here with, and not to work on campaigns. I know Mr. Montanari keeps getting needled, if you will, by Mr. Hurley about the Ashley Furniture project. By now, everybody realizes that was just a November election scam. I'd just like to see everything get back to just working on the problems of the town. The other item I want to bring up has to do with MDC. I know my lawn's very dry. I'm sure everybody else's is as well. An article in the Hartford Current about drought, and some water companies are having to curtail water. They're asking for reductions in water. And I just want to know what the effect of this Niagara project in Bloomfield is going to be when there's a drought, when there's a severe drought. There was an editorial in the paper yesterday, I believe it was. My wife asked me if I had written the editorial, but obviously I didn't. A Bad Idea Amid Drought, it's titled. And the commenter goes on to say that the story did not mention Niagara bottling plant being built in Bloomfield and the ill effects it will have on water supplies once it's operational. In times of drought, will the bottling plant be shut down to conserve water, or will it be allowed to continue siphoning off significant amounts of water at reduced cost while Connecticut residents are asked to conserve? I brought up this Niagara project several months ago. I suggested that the town provide a stance or a letter to the MDC voicing their opinion one way or the other. To my knowledge, I don't believe that ever took place, but I think as a member town, town of Wethersfield should advise the MDC of their opinion, whether it has any effect or not. Another item for MDC is the stench that one of the commenters last meeting commented on. Well, I've been driving by 91 on my way to work, and it stinks. So someone, I believe it should come from the town, should approach MDC and ask them what can be done about the smell. Thank you.
Next time. Yes.
Good evening, Gus Colantonio, 16 Morrison Avenue. I was not going to speak tonight, but I have to echo what Virginia Smith has said. And just to give you some history, I think that Morrison Avenue was built many years ago. Right? And obviously, it's a little bit different than Hillcrest Avenue. And what I mean by that is that I believe that Morrison Avenue was built as a nice little neighborhood. It was never meant to connect to Silas Dean. I had plans, or I researched plans, where the right-of-way was between Tifton to connect it to church. For some odd reason, something along the line changed it. I don't know why. But anyway, the way the sidewalks were, is in front of my house, I've been there for many years now, they were okay. But as the town has resurfaced the road, over-milled at certain place, and put much more pavement than it needed to, and they removed the curbing that it was adjacent to the sidewalk, it was a complete mess. It was lack of responsibility by town employees. And what I mean by that, over the years, usually the sidewalk is about 6 inches above the gutter line. Well, when they resurfaced the road, I think like the pavement in front of my house was only about an inch lower than the sidewalk in certain places. In many places, the sidewalk was at the same elevation of the road. They made a complete mess. And then later on, they came and built the sidewalk, which it's even worse than what it was before. But my point is, how many times do we get charged to rebuild the sidewalk? In front of my sidewalk, there was nothing wrong, except for elevation, which I did not have anything to do with it. If tomorrow the town decides that where the sidewalks are, it's no good and they're going to move it again, are they going to charge me again? By the way, I'm one of the residents that I have refused to pay the $500, because as long as not every street in town is obligated to have a sidewalk, like on Church Street, for instance, you're walking on the north side between Walker Hill and West, and all of a sudden the sidewalk stops for a property or two, and then it begins again. What happens in the wintertime when the kids walk to school? Where do they walk? I brought that up 2 or 3 years ago. Has anything been done? I don't think so. Do you people care of what's going on? If you ask me, I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Gus. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, I'm Mark Butler, 117 Wells Road. Yeah, down in front over here, not in front of the town hall or the middle school, but past the middle school, in front of the church and everything there, the school and the church, right past the middle school. There's a lot of cracks in the deep cracks. I mean, not little cracks, they're about that deep. And I'll go through them slow and stuff if I have to. And one day I was going and there's a crack and I went to avoid it a little bit. Part of it was in the crack and part of me was on the grass. Next thing I knew it, I was flipped over with my head almost in the street. I flipped the cart. You know, these cracks need to be addressed. They're very terrible. You know, they're hard on the carts, and they shouldn't be there. They should be addressed. They should be filled up or something. I mean, there's about 4 or 5 of them there, and they're real bad, especially when I start flipping over on them. I ripped my arm open and everything. Good thing I didn't break a bone. If I broke a bone, and I would have sent the bill to the town. I don't know if they pay for it or not, but I wasn't too happy. But that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Mike Orsini, 224 Highland Street. I'm calling in I'm here in regards to the situation with the turf at Catone Field. I'm not sure if many of you are aware of it, but the turf at Catone Field was installed back in 2004. I had the privilege of working on that project with a company out of Massachusetts, the RAD company, and then Field Turf, which is a nationwide company, is the people that put the turf in. When I worked on the field, I saw how the drainage worked, how the field worked, how actually it was laid in and stuff, which was kind of amazing. It was a good experience. But now that the field got put in, it was put in 2004. We're into our 13th season in with this. And what happens is it has a lifespan of 10 years. The warranty on the field is 8 years. Now, the number one thing that I get back when I mention this is people say, well, if we look at the field looks good. Absolutely, the field looks beautiful. You go up to that field, it looks great. But what happens is with the field, it breaks down from the inside out. Easiest way I can explain it is rust on a car. It goes from the inside out, and what you see is that happens is you get the ultraviolet rays that break down the green part, which you want to call the grass. Underneath the grass, the fake turf, you have it's sand that's compacted. And what happens is over a number of years, it breaks down and it hardens up. The Public Work Department has done a great job. We do have the equipment. We do vacuum and refluff the field, but it's to the point where it's not enough. If you ever look at the field, there's the little black, it's like black sand. What that does is that holds the weight of the field down. It's to the point now where that is washed away, not to the extreme, but it's washed away enough where it's noticeable. One of the people that I've worked with that did the field at Trinity College, and they also did the one at Quinnipiac University, came down to the field with me, and he just took a look at it. I wanted to get his opinion on it. He didn't want to state too much because he is an outside contractor, and he didn't want to affect, any way of their company not getting the field or whatever. But what a GMAX test is, it actually shows the strength of the field. And what happens is, when a field is brand new, it's between 115 and 120, the GMAX test. But what happens is, our field scaled a lot higher and further than that. At the professional level, what you see on TV, because they are heavier, whether it's in football or even soccer, your GMAX could be the rate could be a lot higher. Anyways, not to babble about it, but the way I look at it is, I know it's a big nut to pay for. Wethersfield has one of the fields where we have literally 2 fields, because when our field was done, we had the practice field done too, which many other towns do not have this. The other thing we have to look at too is surrounding towns like Rocky Hill, Glastonbury, Bloomfield, Simsbury, and Southington had their field done the same time we did, and their fields are now done. They have a new field. And I know there was the joke that when Rocky Hill did their field, they used the cheaper turf. We could beg to differ anything with that, but they just had a new field installed. I do want to touch on one thing, which I don't want to push the subject too much, but it's injuries on that field. There have been more injuries, and I know this at the youth soccer and football level. I don't want to use the concussion term because that really shakes everyone up, and I don't want to muddy the water with that. But at the youth level, in football and in soccer, over the last 4 years, it has gone up. Is it because of the field? I don't want to say. I don't know. I can't prove that. I spoke with Scott, the trainer at Wethersfield High School, and asked him, and he said it's hard to really determine that. He'd really have to go look and research. But he says he does notice that, forget the concussion part of it, he's noticing a lot with the ankles, kids twisting in there because it's hard. It's, in theory, the way the field is, it's like playing that field when it's 40 degrees and it's on a hard day. On a cold day. The other thing is to explain so you know how the field with the heat, how it really bakes that field. He gave me a perfect example. If you were to take, before I go further with that, what you need to know is when it's 80 degrees out and you're standing at the concession stand, it's 90 degrees on the field. For those of you who have coached or have been on the sideline, you will know that. But what happens is if you were to take aluminum foil and put it on your driveway, a piece of aluminum foil, and then put saran wrap on top of it, and you'll watch the saran wrap, it'll fold up a little. That's how the heat contracts on the field. That's what the UV rays do. Field Turf is a nationwide company that has done fields like West Virginia, Penn State, USC, and he had told me just before I came to the meeting, there's only one field that they have done on this side of the Mississippi River that's gone into its 14th season, and that field is in Bangor, Maine. And the reason why it's in Bangor, Maine is because they only use that field 4 months out of the year because of the snow. Again, I want to reiterate, I know it's a lot of money. I was in this town council room back in 2002 when we were talking about this turf, and money was supposed to be put aside. I know the money got put somewhere else, and I understand, I know how it works, but I just want to bring it to your attention and hope that we could follow through and get this taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, good evening. I'm here tonight to respond to the similar Hartford Current article. Wethersfield Council discusses regionalization, regionalism to aid Hartford, where Councilman Michael Hurley drew a sharp rebuke from our mayor.
Excuse me.
Could you give us your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, David DeCarli, 7 Monticello Drive.
Thank you.
And again, like the person that spoke before me, I also am disappointed that Mayor Montanari can't be here. So with that said, I'd like to address some of the topics that were brought up in that article. I'm going to go to another article that I read in the Hartford Business Journal. John Horak, who's a lawyer at Reed and Reed in Hartford since 1980, he recently wrote this article in the Hartford Business Journal where he described Hartford in 4 words: sadness, disorder, bankruptcy, and leadership. Sadness was mentioned because Hartford's ability to be, used to be, one of the great producers of guns, typewriters, machine tools, cars, and certainly is home to the world's insurance needs. Disorder was mentioned because it comes from the interest groups that today circle Hartford's financial orbit, from residents, businesses, employees, creditors, and unions. The bankruptcy component comes in because some believe this to be the most sensible path to cleanse the current financial turmoil facing Hartford. And leadership, which is needed in all towns and in all cities, particularly when the need exists for those in leadership roles to admit when ideas or plans went wrong, and then discover the solutions to correct those mistakes. I look to Wethersfield's leaders now to do the same. I applaud Councilman Hurley for his rejection of Mayor Montanari's call to assist in Hartford's bailout through regionalization ideas, county-type government thoughts, or even through diverting our suburban taxes to Hartford. This idea of diverting suburban taxes to Hartford is analogous to loaning your ill-advised, reckless, and insolvent family member money and then expecting them to have a rebirth in their own fiscal responsibility. $22.6 million is the latest estimate of Hartford's budget deficit, which is up from the previous $16.5 million estimate. The anticipated deficit for the next fiscal year without concessions is $50 million, and then jumps to $63 million the year after. Wethersfield, has been mentioned tonight, certainly has its own needs and has to be fiscally responsible to its residents. I don't pay $10,000 a year in taxes on my house, in addition to other property tax obligations to shuttle that money to Hartford. Sure, the Dunkin' Donuts park is a debacle, but the leadership's decision to have it built in the first place was foolish and absurd. This and other financial obligations that Hartford has and faces, they're not our problems. Wethersfield leadership needs to focus on its residents, our needs, our continuing increases in property, and filling empty buildings and offices like the Weight Watchers building, which Democrats promised to fill within 2 weeks after the primary. I ask that the council follow through and follow in Councilman Hurley's logic and focus on Wethersfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Lee?
Lee Seekis, 117 Wells Road. Couple issues. My neighbor Mark stated something that I warned for ages about things needing addressing and fixing. Thanks to Councilman Tony, I found out that some of the projects, like the corners of Church and Sastine and Knott, are state projects. But there are town projects also being done that need to be done better, and definitely these things need to be addressed, because sooner or later it could be an accident, could be, who knows, maybe even terminal, fatal. Another issue I have is several. A couple of my neighbors, several of them, are on walkers. They walk around with the walkers and the wheels, and have you been to the farmer's market? The ground's unlevel, it's unsafe, and it is unsafe. But I do know, talking to some people, that the town council and the Chamber of Commerce wants the farmer's market only to be in Old Wethersfield. But they have to really look at the ground, look at where potential accidents are bound to happen and will happen with due time, like happened on the sidewalk with my neighbor. Just don't forget that old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And a couple other issues. Last year, we were supposedly on a list to have 2 bus shelters, one near CVS and another one on Town Line Road. And way back in March, before Mr. Turner retired, he said we're next on the list. We're next on the list? How long is that list? There's nothing that's been done at either section where people are sitting on a wheelchair, on grocery carts, they're waiting for a bus. What's the status of that? I sure would like to know what happened to it. It's definitely an issue of concern. In regards to high school field, no offense to repairing it, but why wasn't that included in the high school renovation project? You'd think it would have been, if considering the time factor of the age of the turf. It's definitely, considering the age of the turf and the project for the high school, it should have been in that project. And getting back to an old issue, Morrison Avenue, if there's no curb on many parts, I haven't been on Morrison Avenue in a long time, that's another issue of safety. More likely a reason to have a stop sign for the safety of kids, especially with some newer kids moving into that area. No curb, and kids are more likely to run out in the street. I definitely think that stop sign that Mr. Gus wants should be addressed with positive results. I think that's it for now, but I'd like to see some results and progress, and we are for this town, but we have to think of, you could say, a wise spending of the money, because the money that the state is spending on these curb cuts on Church Street and Knott Street, I hate to say it, those Church Street and Session High was done not that long ago with a renovation. And if you were to grade sidewalks like a school from A to F, that would still be a B+ intersection. And why is the state and why is the town spending money where it doesn't need to be spent, and when it should address the areas that really call for, like I said, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, where things really need to be repaired. And I thank you.
Thank you. Yes, all the way in the back. Assuming you want to go last, Mr. Young.
Hello, Richard Heatherman, 322 Church Street. I just want to propose an idea of growing hemp on the town properties. I know there's a lot of land that's not quite being used either in the meadows or like on Willow Street, Wilkes Farm. I think it'd be a valuable resource to the town. It'd be a good cash crop, very profitable. You can use it for either food, shelter, you could build with it. You can make hempcrete with it, rebuild the sidewalks. That could help with that. I think it's something worth looking into. And I wanted to bring it up. I'm wearing hemp clothes right now, very comfortable. So between food and shelter and building with it, either sidewalks, new houses, the school, we could renovate the school. And with hempcrete, it's a better, it's more insulating, so you don't need to rely on more heating and cooling and electricity to keep it nice. It regulates the temperature better. It's naturally anti-mold, antifungal, so that whole issue is out of the picture. And I know there's a lot of extra land, well, not extra land, but that the town owns that we could use for such a project. So I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. I'd like to address a few questions or issues that came up tonight with different speakers. And at the last town council meeting, of course, the mayor wasn't here until later, and I did suggest that you run a vote for Mr. Colantonio's Morrison Avenue. The man wants to live in a decent, safe neighborhood, and he's been coming here for a long time asking you to do something about it. You had your chance last time. I'm asking you again. Be bold. Give him a sign. Put it up. You got plenty of them. You put brand new ones up around town all the time. Give him a new one. That's your choice to say no or nothing. We'll all remember that. Second, the idea of the Ashley Furniture Company coming into Wethersfield, I don't know when they're ever going to come, but it's obviously probably a year late by now. And I think someone should pay at the polls this year or next year when the town council runs. And I'll be reminding them that they need to pay for that reason that it was going to happen and it never happened. There should be penalties to that, and that's to lose your position as a town council member. Next, there's been several discussions tonight from different speakers regarding the comments that were made, I believe, last Wednesday, the Wednesday before, came in the September 8th newspaper, regarding the assistance per the mayor for the city of Hartford. I made myself known at the last council meeting regarding what I thought should happen with Hartford. And of course, you know, Mr. Bronin is exploring for regional services from towns. Hartford struggles to stay afloat. City's debt worsens. It worsens, as it always does, because they're the most irresponsible people sitting on a town council up in Hartford. They couldn't care less as long as they can put in their Dunkin' Donuts. And the word Dunkin' Donuts, I'm sure Dunkin' Donuts is pretty furious that their name is put onto that stadium with the mess that it is. If I was Mr. Dunkin' Donuts, I'd be out of there a long time ago. And then what about Dillon Stadium? Another fiasco put on by the town or city council members of the city of Hartford. And then our mayor wants to at least suggest that we might help them out. The hell with them. They don't do a diddly for us at all. If they can't handle, we give, as taxpayers, we give more than half of their, or as much as half of their budget. Us citizens of the state of Connecticut. And if they can't handle that money responsibly, they're obviously irresponsible. And nobody should help them. They should go into bankruptcy. I mentioned last time that I didn't think cities could go into bankruptcy, but Detroit went into bankruptcy. So my biggest suggestion is let them go down the tubes. Their people deserve to go down the tubes. They sat back and did nothing but look for handouts. And they took handouts from the rest of the state of Connecticut taxpayers. Yeah, they have no shame. They'll come right back out to us and ask us to help them some more. Forget it. It's done. Then we have the state of Connecticut, another bankrupt operation. $1 billion bonds that they're selling. A B with a billion. And what's it for? We know bonds have, these bonds have bought murals. They've provided money for the Connecticut tennis courts. We know that they provide money for a statue. A lot of baloney. But here it is, $1 billion that they're selling bonds. And why at this point? Aren't they limited to sell so many bonds a year? They had to get that bond premium. Another piece that goes into their operating expenses. And who knows how much of this billion goes into their operating expenses? Nobody knows. You can't tell. Yeah, I know they have accounts, but those accounts get drained all the time. And then, of course, we read in the newspaper, America got raises. The median income rose in 2015. Fewer are living on poverty. Can you believe that? Fewer are living on poverty and our taxes are where they are? And we're supporting those people on poverty? We hear from you folks about all this hunger stuff. That's poverty. And it seems to like all of a sudden come along, but this article says there's fewer. So what are you selling? What are you selling us when you tell us about this hunger collection that you got to do? This says there's fewer. And who got these 5% raises? State of Connecticut employees. Every one of them. Municipal employees got their big raises. The rest of us didn't get it. I know, shake your head, Mr. Manager. We can talk about it some other time. But the fact remains, we're in deep trouble, and we've been in deep trouble. And you folks keep spending. And you, Amy, meeting after meeting, you're always introducing more grants that you want to apply for. Where do you think that grant money comes from? Borrowed money, and I kept telling you this. But you keep introducing more grants that you want to go after. The state doesn't have it, but you still go after it. And you'll get it, because those turkeys up there will still go borrow more money. They borrow this kind of money because there's money in it for them. Not for us. Someday, the only way a lot of us are going to get out of here is through the undertaker parlor. But others are going to be paying to the nose for this. And maybe they deserve it. I'm coming to that conclusion. If they sit home and don't do anything, and don't go out and talk and try to change, let them sink. But again, I don't know where these raises are coming from that Hartford Courant's talking about, and I really think Mr. Colantonio needs a sign. And I really think you should do something about it. You had a great opportunity last meeting. You got another opportunity right now. But you don't want to do it. But listen, I appreciate coming up here, Deputy Mayor. I'm pretty disgusted. I'm disgusted with the state of Connecticut. I'm pretty disgusted with the town's mayor and his position on willing to help the city of Hartford. I wish he was here so I could talk to him to his face, but maybe next time I'll give a rerun on it, okay? But also, I do recall, not long ago, when Mayor Segura was up there in Hartford, I saw our mayor on the television right behind him. as he was presenting one of his boondoggles that ended up sinking Mr. Bronin. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, let's move on to council reports. Tony?
Last week was the first Senior Citizens Advisory Commission meeting of the month. They've started planning for their next May event for seniors to bring them up to date on stuff. The Housing Authority informed us that they're starting their renovations of the units at 60 Lancaster Courts on September 27th, and the work is expected to be done by the end of the year. They have a CRT Energy Blitz oil only on October 19th between 9:30 and 2 p.m. Down in social services for people to sign up to make an appointment. Anybody that's needy or eligible is asked to contact social services on that. They've also arranged outreach schedules for the upcoming energy program. There's going to be 2 of them at the Housing Authority, 1 at the Nathan Hales, or 2 at the Nathan Hales Senior Housing and 1 at Lasher Court. Anybody looking for that is asked to contact social services for more details. They also advise that this coming Friday, on September 23rd, is the annual Stand Down 26 for veterans. It runs from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's put on by the Connecticut Veterans Affairs and the Rocky Hill campus on West Street in Rocky Hill. Anybody looking to go to that can contact if they need a ride, and somebody can help you with pre-registration and getting you transportation to that. Then, what else do I have? The Conservation Committee met last week, and they reviewed a couple of lots that on the tax collector's roll that might be turned over to town for non-payment of taxes, and they were reviewing those. Last week, I also, in the absence of the deputy mayor, went to the high school building renovation committee for him. They reviewed the budget adjustments, which will be coming up later in tonight's agenda for approval. They reviewed the status of the project and advised that everything except the punch list items will be completed by October 24th, which is good news. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for covering that.
No problem.
Any other council reports? Council comments? Mike?
I just want to thank the few people who came down to talk about regionalization. When I ask people to come down, they don't, so I'm glad that I didn't even have to ask and people came down to talk about it. I know the mayor made it more of a personal attack in the newspaper, but since the article, I did get a lot of calls in support of not helping out Hartford. Now, I'm in support of not helping out Hartford at this point. I would end up, like I said in the article, if they wanted to do some contracts with us that benefited us both, that would be fine. I just don't believe that us giving them money will help their situation. They'll just spend our money and then move on and try to get somebody else's money.
Amy?
Last Monday night, I attended an informational meeting to gauge interest on establishing a community theater in Wethersfield. There was a great turnout, and there were many ideas and suggestions, and Kathy Bagley will be working with the Park and Rec Advisory Board on this idea of whether or not the town should create some sort of community theater. So if anybody's interested, you could contact Kathy Bagley for more information. I also want to thank the Chamber and town staff for another wonderful Corn Fest this past weekend. The weather cooperated, and it was a great town event. And then I had a question for the town manager, if I may. I'd just like to see if there was any contact with the MDC concerning the odor present in Old Wethersfield and what the MDC had to say about it.
Want to address that during reports, or now? It's your pleasure.
Your pleasure, Mr. Chairman. I can do either.
Let's do it in report.
Okay.
We'll do all that together.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council comments? Excuse me. Jody? Okay. Town managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Let's start with the MDC. I did reach out to the MDC, and they sent a crew out. There was a spill back in August, which was cleaned up. The most recent odors seem to be, at least from the MDC, due to the lack of rain, you're getting more and more stagnant algae, stagnant water, because there's not that turnover because of rain. There's also more exposed mud and muck. So they believe at this point that that's what's causing a lot of the odor, not sewage per se, but more of stagnant, mucky water is really where the smell's coming from. We'll find out in the next few days with this rain if that helps, but that's kind of what they believe to be the cause of the odors at this time. That's from them. On the bus shelters, we are going to move forward with the bus shelters. That's a CROG project, and it moves at the speed of CROG, I guess we can say. It's been on the drawing board for about 10 years. There is an issue with the landowner by Stop and Shop across the street from Stop and Shop. They don't want a bus shelter on the condo property, so we're looking for another location to put that because they don't want the bus shelter. And there's not enough right-of-way there to put the shelter just on the right-of-way. It has to be on some private property. So we're looking for another location in that, close to that area to put a bus shelter. But the rest of them should be going in. There's 7 or 8 of these that should be going in. We've prioritized, at this point, that one would be a priority if we had a spot for it. But the ones we've demolished because of their age and their just condition will go first, like Jordan Lane up by Stop and Shop up there, over by, over by the storage place where that one's been repaired and so forth. So we expect those to be in this fall sometime. We'll check on the sidewalk issue that was brought up by Mr. Butler. We'll make sure that gets addressed. And the sidewalk curb cuts that are going on now, that's all DOT money. There's no town money in that. So we're not throwing good money after good money. And the state will come back and reconfigure our sidewalks to take away those curb cuts that are at the intersection. Basically what's going on is that they're moving the crosswalks away from the intersection, moving them back. So that's the reason for those new curb cuts.
Thank you. Dolores, anything?
I'll just mention that the flu shots listing is available online. It's available if people call the offices or in the newspaper. And the election looks like we have mostly organized for the candidates. And so we will have absentee ballots available for October 7th. If people are going to be out of town, all of the voting hours between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Applications, we're receiving a lot of applications already, and as soon as we get them, the ballots, they haven't been ordered yet, because the state is still finalizing 1 or 2 positions. But we're getting closer to having a complete ballot. That's it.
Thank you, Dolores. Moving on to council action, item B1A, acceptance of resignations from boards and commissions.
Resignation from Board of Assessment Appeals, Mark St. Pierre, 182 Clearfield Road, effective 7/26/2016.
For a second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Appointments to boards and commissions.
Appointment to the Board of Assessment Appeals, James Pelletier, 61 State Street, 9/19/16 to 6/30/2020.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 3A, other business, the Wethersfield High School budget amendments.
Motion to approve the budget adjustments to the high school renovation projects as requested.
I second that.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. There's a spreadsheet in your packet which has several columns. The one we're going to focus our attention tonight on is the 912 adjustments, which means that the Building Committee on 912, these were the changes reviewed. If you look at the numbers, throughout the project, every time there's been a change order, contract numbers have changed, contingency numbers have gone up or down, depending upon how that money was moved around, so forth and so on. So the project overall, the contracts are correct. What this does is simply trues up the budget of the project. It doesn't enhance or decrease any particular contract amount. Those have been done through change orders. What this does is match what the activity of the building committee and the town council in some instances when those change orders had to come here to the actual budget, and that way we know what funds are left at the end of the day. After the adjustments are made according to these line items, there'll be $98,000 left in the contingency fund and another $200,000 to $300,000 left in individual contract allocations.
Allowances?
Allowances. I always forget that word, allowances, because I never got one as a kid, I guess. Allowances. So sitting here today, after the pool's taken care of, after all the change orders that are still being processed, there's still between $250,000, $350,000 overall as part of the budget, part of the project budget that's unallocated to any particular construction or soft cost.
And the 500,000 that we have put in our budget
Is not recognized in any form in this document. That's off on the side, untouched.
Any questions for Jeff? Jody?
We had a lot of discussion during the last meeting about any projects that the Board of Ed may be lining up for some of those soft costs that have not been tied to anything yet. Have they gotten back to you at all with that?
No, the one singular outstanding project that needs to be addressed before any conversation can take place about new items is the screening of the rooftop units. So any discussion about any other topic is on hold until we figure out the screening solution, which could run several $100,000 to do.
Is that on any agenda in the near future?
That's on every agenda that we've talked about for the past month. Actually, if you go up to the school, we've installed a physical screen on one unit to take a look, and we've painted another one. Now, the orange isn't the right color. We're going to change the orange, but we've also painted one tan, the same color as the coping around the top of the building. So we're evaluating a number of different ways to screen these or camouflage these. So that's the process that's undergoing now. So once a solution is determined, whether it be screening them all, painting some, screening some, whatever that is, we'll get the pricing and then go through and implement that, and then we'll know what's really left at the end of the project. We couldn't paint them in the summertime because it was 120 degrees on the roof.
Yeah, that might not be good.
Yeah.
Will the kids get to vote?
No, the building committee will decide. Of course, if you have input, I'm sure we'll be happy to hear that.
Yes,
There's actually a Wethersfield High School screening subcommittee meeting next Monday. Thank you, Ms. Katz.
Amy?
We heard a lot from swim team parents, and they felt that they were getting a runaround. Have they met with the Wethersfield High School Building Committee, or has someone approached the building committee with their concerns?
They were at the building committee meeting last Monday. We heard from them. We actually met with a representative of them, brought them into the pool area. We went over what their concerns were and explained to them the process of how a capital project gets to funding in the budget. So we laid that out for them,
Okay, so
at least for this one individual who was there.
So
from the
at the
committee.
town council level, we have gotten them to the right group for potential funding.
I believe so. I
Okay.
may be wrong, but this one individual seemed to understand the process, the choices that were made with the project 7, 8 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and where we are today. and how the best way to go about replacing those items that they feel need to be replaced, the best process to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 4A, Willard Pool roof replacement.
Make a motion to award the bid for the Willard Pool House roof replacement to Eagle River Service Corp. for $63,500.02.
Second?
And is that you, Mr. Manager, or is it Sally?
I think Sally is just beside herself waiting to talk about this.
All right, Sally, come on up.
Sally Katz, Director of Physical Services. Going to CIP this year, we asked for funding to replace the Willard roof, which is in significantly deteriorated state. We work with Tremco on our roof preventative management program. Through Tremco, they have developed a collaborative where we basically will be utilizing their services as oversight to bid out and to manage these projects as a turnkey project for roofing. These are the experts in roofing, and they have the ability to go out to cast a wide net, to do the project management, to write the specifications, to be on site for oversight that the roof is being installed properly. They also, so they are acting as a project manager for these projects. And this is a good size roof for us to test this process, because as successful, we would like to see it moving forward, because it met all of our specifications and came in under the budget that CIP had allotted for this project, and yet with these added services, which would be exceptionally advantageous to the town.
Any questions? Mike?
Just a couple. How old is the building itself over at Willard Pool?
I don't have that exact date. I'd have to get it for you, but it dates back, it's over 25 years old, I'm sure, yeah.
The roof itself, original to the structure?
Yes, to my
Okay.
knowledge, yes.
Reading through some of the instructions, number 8, should the project involve asbestos? Is there any fear that asbestos may be present in?
We
Yeah.
have not had any indication that there is
Okay.
asbestos there, as we believe it was built after all of the regulations were put into effect.
Okay. And then finally, the roof, driving by, the roof has a pitch everywhere. There's no flat,
Right.
correct? So we wouldn't
Correct.
have to worry about flat roofs and,
Yeah, nothing with flat roofs. It does have a pitch. We're installing the skylights to allow additional light in the facility. If you've been in there, because it's block, it can be pretty dark in there. And I think you're really gonna see quite an upgrade to the facility by doing this.
great. And they're gonna ensure water sealing it and
Yes,
hopefully have.
that's
uh,
part of this program, is they will guarantee it, the flashing will be there, that they are watertight. And also, part of this program is they will be on site as these things are being installed. Tremco will be, in order to make sure that we get the products that, and the quality of the installation that we've purchased.
Thank you. Thanks, Sally.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 4B,
Motion to move $9,290 from the capital project number 30381, Silestein Air Handling Units, to capital project number 30939, School Camera Surveillance Project.
I'll second that.
Mr. Bushy?
Excuse me, one thing. On your podium tonight is the original project bid and scope. I had a request from a council member to dig that out, so on your podium is the one that you all adopted earlier.
Oh, sure.
And so I'm clear, this is Silas Dean?
No.
This is for all the district schools,
Okay.
Mr. Berry.
Just take
Go
it
ahead.
from this.
So a change order came forward to add a few things. One thing at the middle school, due to the bandwidth issues of the amount of cameras, we need to add a new NVR, another NVR, and some other cabling that needs to be done. Highcrest, Emerson, Webb, Hamner, and Charles Wright needs to be added with further HDMI cables and labor to do so, and labor to make sure the software is operating in a proper fashion. I have waited on this. I knew about this a little while ago, but I did want to wait on this to make sure that as we got all the cabling done throughout all of the buildings, which has been completed as of last week, that this would be the only thing that we would have to come back to council with.
Questions? Yes, Donna?
This, if I remember correctly, back to when this came to us the first time, you had assistance with the specifications in getting this, that you didn't necessarily write the specifications. You relied on someone with expertise to help you.
I had help with this, yes, Ms. Hammond.
Were these things that were not picked up in that process?
The NVRs with the, in the middle school were not picked up just because of the complexity of the building itself and the amount of bandwidth that needs to happen there to make this happen.
But the additional license?
Additional licensing was for the, there was not extra cameras, but the cameras that are already there to be added to the scope.
I'm just a little disappointed that because you had help putting these together, I can understand certainly the bandwidth issue, because that wouldn't have been anticipated. But I'm just a little bit concerned that this wasn't part of the original scope.
Tony?
Fred, when we did approve this thing, our goal was to try to have this done before the start of school. If this is approved tonight, how long will it take before this project is finished?
Right now, I can say that we are working on it between Sonatrol, IT folks, and our IT folks within the Board of Education are working on getting this together. Both Highcrest School and Emerson should be online here within the next week or so. Just patching of panels have been done, the cameras are installed. The installation of hardware is totally complete. Now it's patching a panel, now it's sitting down at the computer and making this happen. Both schools should be within a week, I'm hoping.
How about the whole project?
How about the whole project?
Whole project, I would have to say within, and please don't take me at this, I want to say within probably about 4 weeks.
Mike Early. Sorry, Mike Rell. Unless you have something as well.
I didn't have anything, but maybe I will.
This is what
since
happens
you
when I
said
take
it.
my glasses off.
Oh, really? You get me confused with Mike Early?
Sorry.
Thanks for this, Fred, this from Sonatrol. It's the first time I'm seeing it. How long are the HDMI cables? There's 2 of them to be installed.
Some of them range from approximately, I want to say about 9 foot to over 30 foot.
Okay, so, but the cost to install either a 9-foot, well, go back a little, one step. If there's a 9-foot HDMI cable or a 30-foot HDMI cable, no matter the length, they're $150 each.
This is the way it was broken down to me, Mr. Terrell. I can certainly, ask if there's,
So if
what the discrepancy is within that.
I would appreciate that, and then if it's a 9-foot cable, I would imagine in labor to install it, say it's $500 is what they have down here, or $250. It actually doesn't even break it down. But to install a 30-foot cable as opposed to a 9-foot cable, I would imagine would cost more than, one would assume, looking at these figures, it would cost more than $500 to install.
Yep.
I think, I would suggest before we vote on this, we get a better breakdown on cost. I mean, every HDMI cable, no matter where you are, either at middle school, Highcrest, Emerson, Webb, Hanmer, or Charles, it's $300 or $150 each. And if it's 9-foot or 30-foot, doesn't matter how much it is in length, it's still $150.
Absolutely. I can absolutely ask the vendor for that.
We have a,
Motion
Yes.
to table?
Second.
we have a motion to table, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to table carries. Minutes. Item 6A, the agenda lists September 9th, but I do understand that the minutes themselves accurately reflect that it's September 6th meeting. Are there any
I'd like to make a
motions?
motion, please, to approve the meeting minutes of September 6th.
Second that motion.
Comments? Changes? We have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain?
And I abstain as well. Moving on to item 7 on the agenda, public comment. Gus? Should put my glasses on. Could have called him Tom.
Good evening again, Gus Colantonio, 16 Morrison Avenue. I know I said this before and I will say it again. This time is about the stop sign. I was told by the town manager and the mayor that I get all the answers. I got all the answers that I asked for. And I said it before and I'm going to say it again. The only answer I got is that the town is not going to build or is not going to install any more stop signs because there are too many stop signs in town.
Well, that's not correct. That's not the answer you got.
And they told me also that basically Morrison Avenue does not have enough traffic. That's why we're not getting a stop sign. I want to say that Morrison Avenue has twice as many cars as Hillcrest Avenue. Now, do I want a stop sign? No. My youngest one is 26. I don't think it's a problem with safety. The past 6 months, I would say that four young kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, they have moved in different places. The lady at the corner of Orchard and Morrison Avenue says that she sees every morning kids waiting for the school bus. They wait between Tifton or at Tifton Road intersection. That's the worst part of Morrison Avenue, the most unsafe spot on Morrison Avenue, and yet nobody cares about it. Look at this now. As you approach Orchard, and you can picture this, right? Toward Hillcrest Avenue, you come to a stop sign. You look toward Silesdene Highway, you can see 344 feet. And by the way, these dimensions came from the town. You look toward Walker Hill Road, and you can see 970 feet. 344 on one side, 970 on the other. And they have 3 stop signs, 1 on Orchard and 2 on Hillcrest Avenue. Got that? when you approach Tifton, when you approach Morrison Avenue from Tifton Road, you look to the right, and you can see to Silas Dean Highway. No problem there. You look to the left or toward Walker Hill Road, and you can see only 232 feet. And again, 232 feet came from the town. Before the reconstruction of the sidewalk, you could see 340 feet. Well, as you approach Tifton, again, you just have one stop sign. There is no stop sign at all on Morrison Avenue at this intersection. Why is that? And because of these stop signs now, I believe that's the result why we have twice as many cars. Okay? Why? Now, if you were living there, would you ask the question? What's going on? If you do need a stop sign at 344 and 970 feet on Hillcrest Avenue, don't you think you need one for 232 feet going downhill where it's harder to stop? The guidelines on highways for geometrics and whatnot, the safe speed when you can see 225 feet on the intersectional sight distance is 20 miles per hour. Yes, Tony, that's how much it is. 20 miles per hour. 280 feet is 25 miles per hour. The intersection from Tifton Road and Morrison Avenue is 232. The 85th percentile of traffic, that means 85% of the traffic goes 31 miles per hour, and 15% of the traffic goes above 31. Okay, so what's wrong with this? Do I need a stop sign? I don't care one way or the other. What's wrong with you guys? Now, there is a new town engineer. I would like him to be present, or I would like him to give us, or to give me, an opinion on what I just said. If I'm wrong, that's okay. Tell me. But there is something wrong with this scenario right here. And I expect, and I will not go away. As long as I pay taxes in this town, I will not go away. Another thing too now, last year, I guess, they did some work on the sewer, the manhole. Every time you go over that manhole in front of my house, it makes noise. Something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Tom?
Tom Mazzarella, 600 Walcott Hill Road. So I just have a question about the high school budget. Sounds like you have $250,000 to $350,000 that could possibly be remaining due to items coming in under budget. Plus you have, I think, $500,000 in some contingency fund in the town budget. And I'm just wondering if there's any requirement that we must spend that money. I can see the different groups in town already lining up. What can we buy for the school? Maybe some turf, maybe some more furniture, maybe, I don't know what, but maybe we could consider not spending that money. Come in under budget. The other question I had is about the video cameras in all the schools. When this came up for a vote several months ago, I asked who was going to be monitoring all these video feeds, and was another person going to get hired for that job, or who was going to do that? I know we heard comments from the librarian who had some cameras in the library, and that woman said no one really looks at them. They're there, and if they happen to glance at them, they can see them, but it's nobody's responsibility to be watching them. So I'd just like to see if there was any further discussion about that, or what the plan was for all these nice, expensive video monitors. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Young? Lee, would you like? Is that okay?
In regards to the lease seekers, 117 Wells Road, in regards to the bus shelter on Town Line Road, you said the condo place does not want it there. My question is, it could be one of many things. Is the land being purchased that the bus shelter would go on? Or could they get maybe like a tax reduction a little because of that? Or how about eminent domain? Because really, that's where it's needed. So if you're going to put it elsewhere, it's not going where it's needed. You drive by there as often as I do, you see people with grocery carts bent over, turned on the side, they're sitting down like anything, almost all the time. Eminent domain, tax deduction, or purchase the land. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Young.
Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. Tonight, there was a discussion regarding turf at Catone Field. I attended those meetings long ago, and those discussions were up. And there was a lot of discussion about the danger and problems with turf. And the town council at that time totally ignored the citizens. And now tonight, we heard about some of those issues. It only takes time that we will find out more about turf. And we've now found out how bad it is, how it's, if it's 80 degrees, it's really 90 degrees out there. I mean, when it's 100 degrees out there, it's 110 degrees on it. And this is not a safe issue. And with the injuries, we never heard about the injuries that were coming off of that field from the Board of Education or the town council. As time goes on, things surface. But 10 years, 15 years ago, 15 or 14 years ago, when this whole thing was discussed, the decision makers totally ignored all those problems that were out there. You heard a couple of them tonight. And we also know that it needs to be replaced, supposedly. And where's the money coming from? And if we go back 15, 14 years ago, we heard about if we had turf on that field and we had lights on that field, this was going to be a destination point for, I don't know who, but those who were up here up here talking about it, was there were thousands and thousands of people that would have come to these games. And now these games have been going on for 13 years. You're going into your 13th year. And with all those collections at the gate, all those rentals that were going to happen, you were going to rent that field out to groups. You were going to put, and I haven't been there probably 10, 12 years, 15 years now. But I've heard from the Board of Education and in front of this group about selling along the edges of this entire stadium area where they would bring in money. And I don't know if that's happened. That's why I say I haven't been there in years, but if it has happened, how much have you brought in? How much has come in on the gate collections? How much has come from the rentals of renting it out to different groups? Will that money be used to replace this turf? I mean, you've had 1 million people come through the gate, supposedly, by now. From what those individuals who were up here said, soccer and all those game things are so popular, it was going to be flooding with people, and the money was going to be rolling into the community. And how much is there now sitting in the bank from all those collections? And it's not what's left. It's how much revenue was taken over those years. How much was spent and what was it spent on? I think we should see an accounting of that long before there's new turf put on that field, because that money should reimburse. And going forward, that should reimburse for the next X amount of years going outwards. It self-funds itself. And that's what needs to happen. But I think it's only the manager that could tell us that, if he's willing to. I know there was some time, some 3, 4, or 5 years ago, that I looked at some numbers that came in at that point, but I've never asked again. I don't know, maybe I will ask again to see what those numbers are, or unless he's willing to pony it up. But we really, as citizens, we should know what we got off of that for revenue. Those individuals that came here and spoke about putting that turf on also said they were going to put the lights on. Well, let the town do the turf, and they were going to put the lights on. And what did they do? They garnered up a few thousand, $25,000, and all the rest of it came from the state of Connecticut. Again, Amy, we called that borrowed money, bond money, you know? And it happened right here from this town council back then to apply for $100,000, $200,000 for lights. A couple of you people are sitting up here tonight that were part of that. Yet the citizens have absolutely no idea what the results are. And we should know. We should know the head counts that went through those year by year. We should see the dollars that came in by year. And we should see what the expenditures were. They probably spent it all. That's my suspicion. It's all probably gone, unless the manager can prove differently. But
You're accusing me of something?
you should show it to us.
Let's keep it to public comment.
I'm sorry?
Let's go.
Oh, we should see what that results are, Deputy Mayor. And you're an attorney. You understand what I'm saying. We need what Mr. Colantonio talks about, accountability. And we should have a lot of accountability on other issues as well. But this is a hot one. You're talking about $800,000 to $1 million to replace that turf. That money should be in the bank. 12 years, 13 years of collecting monies. You have millions of people that went through that stadium, paying people. I don't know what they pay. What do they charge them? $1, $2, $5? Who makes up that decision? Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you. Item 8.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Going in.
We're going in there.
Yeah, we'll go in there.
How much do they charge? Like $5, right?
That's for a football game.
Thanks, Mike. Brain cramp there.